Everybody, I'm so happy that you're choosing to teach COL 101. What I'm going to do the series of videos. I'll try to keep them short, but it's easier for me to record them in bits and pieces that kind of outline how this course runs, and this way you can review it if you need to again, instead of trying to get everybody together either in a Zoom session and kind of blow through this. So I'll break this up and into various parts. I'm going to start off with kind of the high level big picture, and then we'll kind of take it from there. So let me just pause this and we'll move on. Okay, so you should be seeing the shell. It's going to get renamed to just COL STEM 2026. I'm going to combine the online and the on ground into a single shell. But the shell, if you haven't looked at it, you'll see that the shell is complete. There's no need to change anything, although you're free to adjust the shell in certain aspects if you prefer to change maybe a discussion. The only thing that we ask is you just keep the topic correct. But if you see a better way to discuss, feel free to change that. I'd recommend, if this is the first time you're teaching it, to just go ahead and do it as is, and then maybe adjust it next time you teach it if you feel like you can do something a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to go into the schedule of activities just to highlight kind of a big picture again, that there's 14 modules in this class. And I've already set the dates and so forth. And again, I'm not going to get into all the details of the content. You can look at that, but you can see that everything is already set up in the what I want to highlight is a couple weeks, the fall break, since the class goes from Sunday to Sunday. So a module opens Sunday night at midnight or Monday morning at 001, and it closes the following Sunday. So it's a 7 day cycle. And because we have two breaks thrown in here, fall break is going to be October 12th through 18th for this course. And so that week, since it's a shortened week, we're not going to have any assignments due. And then as we scroll down into Thanksgiving, same thing. Thanksgiving's an abbreviated week, so there won't be any assignments due. So effectively, there's 2 weeks of break in here. And you can see that the last assignment is going to be submitted on by December 6th. So that makes it easy for the break periods that you don't have to worry about what students are doing. But otherwise, you can see the schedule. And again, this is complete. You shouldn't have to adjust this at all. Okay, so we're looking at the course grade book, and I'll just highlight how this course is divided up. So here you see the module assessments, and the weight of these is 20%. And what these assessments are is based on the couple readings that they have to do and a couple short videos that they have to watch. And so they'll do these quizzes, and I'll show you where they do these later. But they're self-graded quizzes. One bonus question will be in each quiz. It's a short answer question. So if they get a question wrong, you can see if they answered the bonus question and give them a point back. So it ends up that most of the students end up with 100 on all these quizzes. The quizzes are very, very simple. If you've done the reading or watched the video, they're not designed to be difficult. But this, without doing these quizzes, students typically are not going to do the readings, they're not going to watch the videos, they're just going to try to fake their way through it. And so it's an attempt to at least get them to look at the materials. Hopefully they do that. Okay, then the next part is the discussions and engagement, which is 35% of the grade. And this is kind of the meat of the course. This is the thing that you're most involved in. Okay, and so these are going to be the module discussions based on the various topics that you can see. And this is where you have to be visible. This is where you're going to do the bulk of your work. You're going to be involved in the discussion forums. You're going to respond to students, um, and try to as best possible to respond to every student. And again, you're not writing anything tremendous, but you're just acknowledging what the student wrote. Make it personal, not generic, because everybody can see it. So you don't want to be posting the same thing to every student. And I'll show you some examples in another video. But this is where you're expected to be visible and active. Okay, we've lost some instructors teaching this course because they just kind of were completely invisible. They didn't get involved in any of the discussions. All they did was do some grading, and that's not what this course is. Okay, so you will spend a little bit of time involved in the discussions. Okay, the connections quest, which is just 10% of the grade, there's just 3 of these challenges. And the idea of the connections quest is we want the students to reach out and connect in some way, shape, or form with the college. And it could be as simple as, meeting with their instructor, going to some kind of a seminar, sending an email, going to tutoring, so forth. And so they will do something, and I'll show you these later, and they will respond with proof that they've done it. And again, this is self-grading. This is not something you have to grade. So 3 times in the semester, they got to prove that they did some level of engagement connected to the college in some way. The next category is the career project, which is 25% of the grade. So this is the other big thing. It's broken up into 4 parts, okay? The students are giving a PowerPoint template to work with. And again, I'm not going to go through the details of this, but this is important because what we find out of the students often will select majors for all the wrong reasons, right? I mean, I've literally had students say, well, I'm really good at building Legos, so I want to be an architect, right? And they just don't understand the nature of what an architect does and what the major entails. People that like to fix cars say they want to be mechanical engineers. Again, not understanding that that is not really what a mechanical engineer does. And you'll find some students are in Math 032 or Math 101, very elementary level math, wanting to be computer engineers. Right. And so this is where you got to look at these projects and try to guide the students gently. If there's a big disconnect, you got to try to counsel them and let them understand that perhaps you picked the wrong major because you're not academically prepared, given that you're 3 or 4 semesters behind mathematically, or the major that you state does not match the career choice that you are enunciating, okay? And so I'll show you more about the career project in another video. And then finally, the final reflection, 10 points, and that's just kind of a wrap up at the end of the semester. Okay, so that's the basic breakdown of the parts of this. Okay, and then you can see here that I've got, if you look at the calendar, I've got the due dates already programmed in based on having a 1-week-long module. And I'll explain more about how these due dates are determined. And then I've got programmed in messages, fairly generic messages every week that will introduce basically the next module. What you're going to really need to do, though, is at times do a recording and have it posted in the messages so that they can see you, so they can hear you, so you can give some generic feedback to the class, what they're doing well, what they need to improve upon. But the students need to see you, they need to hear you, in addition to being involved in the discussion forums. And so you can see that each of these modules does have a time that it will pop up in the news feed and when it will disappear at the end of that. But again, you feel free to modify these as you see fit, and certainly try to include some videos also in there. Okay, so that's I'm going to stop this video. That's kind of the big overview, generic picture. So now I'm going to break it down into a little bit more detail about some of the content.